Welcome to Atmanirvriti, Chapter 19, the Puja of the Sense Organs and the Mind. Manasi Deyum, Indriyang Galu Deyum, Puja. In the previous chapter, Atmanirvriti 18, Atmananda kept urging the mind that your claim to be I can be justified only if you dissolve into the holy nothingness, losing all your attributes. Until you reach that point of dissolution, you have no right to claim to be I. In this chapter, Atmananda dives deeper into the holy nothingness and helps us understand it better. What is this holy nothingness? What are its qualities? If you examine closely, you will be able to describe it only as an absence of noise, an absence of physical objects, an absence of mental objects, absence of thought, absence of emotion, absence of sensation, absence of perception. It is simply an absence of everything that you know. So what are you left with? There is only an infinite awareness in that blankness, in that absence. So let's call it an infinite expanse of blank awareness. Now let's look at the quality of happiness. What is pure happiness? What is happiness made up of? Is happiness made up of a physical object? Is happiness made up of a physical person? Is the material that happiness is made up of any physical sensation? Is happiness made up of any physical perception? Is happiness made up of any mental object? No, happiness is made up of an absence of all of these, an absence of physical objects, an absence of mental objects, an absence of physical sensation, an absence of physical perception, an absence of thought, feeling, sensations, an absence of mental objects as well as physical objects. It is an absolute absence of all of these. In the English language, we address happiness as a feeling. Examine closely. Is happiness a mental feeling? Or is it relief from all feelings? Experiment and verify this. You will recognize that happiness is the absence of emotions. It is a relief from all possible emotions, whether negative or positive. Sadness, tension, fear, anger, greed, jealousy. When you get relief from all these negativities, there is a relief, a sense of relief that happens. That is what you call happiness. So it was the absence of greed, jealousy, fear, tension, sadness. Correct? Now let's look at the positive feelings. Positive feelings, excitement, enthusiasm. All these have an up graph. Do you notice this? Yes. passion, an upgraph. It creates an excitement in you. That's why you feel excited inside. You say, I have an excited feeling. This is also not pure happiness. When you get relief from the passion, relief from the excitement, that relief is an absence of all feelings. That relief is what you term as happiness. Again, experiment and verify this for yourself. Do not believe me blindly. Then you will understand that happiness is an absolute absence of all physical and mental objects. Let's take another example. I feel a particular external person or an external object is the source of my happiness. My family members, my beloved, is the source of my happiness. This person gives me a compliment and I feel very happy. So, what does the mind do? It does not closely examine this truth. If you closely examined, you would know that even though the trigger is a so-called external physical person, my beloved, the source from which the happiness was delivered was internal. Trigger external, source internal. When you dive internally, you will notice that what is happiness? It is simply a complete absence of all thoughts, feelings, sensations, perceptions. That is why when you see something beautiful, your eyes close. When you see a beautiful sunset, your eyes close. Why? Because automatically you are pushed into an absolute absence of everything. So the trigger is the sunset. The delivery of the happiness happens from the source. So what did we do so far? The holy nothingness of primordial awareness or pure consciousness, which lies beyond the witness, that is an absence, an infinite expanse of blank awareness. And then we compared pure happiness to it. We recognized, oh, pure happiness is also an absence. An absolute absence of all mental and physical objects. It is the same infinite expanse of blank awareness that we call the holy nothingness, the primordial awareness, the pure consciousness. Notice when you are at this level, either you call it the holy nothingness or pure happiness, there is no I. Even the I that was actually involved in this self-inquiry, in this self-exploration, that I also loses itself and dissolves. That holy nothingness itself is pure happiness. That is why Brahman is also called Ananda. Ananda means bliss. What is the meaning of bliss? Bliss is not an excitement. It is not passion. The graph does not go up. It is an infinite expanse of blank awareness. If there is an I, that is the true I, O dear mind. If there is an I at all, and you want to claim to be that I, then you must dissolve into that holy nothingness, into that pure happiness. You must lose yourself to the infinite field of I. That infinite field of I is not a personal, localized I. It is a common I. It is the true I, the universal I. This is the gist of what Atmananda says in this chapter, that I am that universal I, that holy nothingness, that pure happiness. So let's look at verse 1 now. Sughamanor Rubam Sugate Lakshamakiyam Indriyangal Manasellam Vyapari Gunateppodum. I am pure happiness. All the activities of the sense organs and the mind aim at happiness. In your own personal journey, you have reached the stage where you recognize that you are pure happiness. When one recognizes that one is pure happiness itself, it becomes clearly evident to him that 1. The projection called the waking state is itself an activity aimed at pure happiness. 2. The projection called the dream state is an activity aimed at pure happiness. The purpose of the waking state and the dream state is to finally dissolve and disappear into this pure happiness, which is nothing else but the holy nothingness of the deep sleep state. That is why when you awaken in the morning with a smile and your family member asks you, "How did you sleep?" you say, "I'm so happy, I slept so soundly last night." Who knows about this happiness? It means you were there. Who are you? And what is the source of that happiness? Is that source different from you who knows about the happiness? Experiment. Contemplate on this. This is the main reason why every single activity of yours, every single thought, every single feeling, everything is only aimed at one thing. What? Pure happiness. In fact, it cannot be otherwise. If you examine closely, you will notice that the mind wants only one thing. And what is that? Happiness. It does not want anything else. The mind is that which craves for happiness, but it is also like a young child that does not understand that everything shines is not gold. The child sees fire and puts his hand into the fire. Similarly, the mind is ignorant. It is an ajnani. It assumes that the external physical object or the mental object, that is the source of happiness. It keeps changing its objects, keeps thirsting for happiness without really understanding that the source of the happiness is here, not here. It thinks, see, I ran behind this object and I attained this object. Now I am happy. So it assumes that the happiness came from that object. It is completely mistaken. What has happened? In running after that object, in craving for that object, there was a feverishness. That feverishness made it run, kept it restless. All the time restless, craving for that one attainment. But it did not attain it. So it continued its graph of restlessness, and the graph plateaued with restlessness. It did not mean that it had come down. The graph was really high and restless. Now the mind attains whatever it wanted to attain. And it's like, you know how you puncture a balloon and all the air goes down? Like that, the graph came down. The restlessness vanished. When the restlessness vanished, a relief was experienced from that craving, from the restlessness created by running behind that object of craving. That relief automatically pulls you back into that nothingness. That is pure happiness. So the source of pure happiness is internal. The trigger might have been external, but that is not the source of true happiness. That is the reason why the next time when you start looking at that object again, hoping to find the same happiness, you fail. Because the happiness didn't come from the object. The happiness came from the relief, from the restlessness of running behind the object. Again, don't believe me. Experiment and verify. Is this clear? This is the reason why the mind suffers. Because it attributes happiness to the external object, to the external mental or physical object. When it does not get it from that external physical or mental object, it juggles from one object to another. It jumps from one relationship to another, jumps from one job to another, one hobby to another, one thought to another, in search of that pure happiness. So really, it does not get pure happiness in that external object. It gets pure happiness when it is relieved from the restlessness that was created by craving for that object. The mind wants that relief from that craving, the relief from the craving, the drop of the graph. That relief from the craving is what the mind is looking for, because that pushes it into the holy nothingness, and it experiences that absolute absence, that beautiful expanse of blank awareness which is infinite, that holy nothingness, the Ananda. Is this very clear? The mind is simply searching for happiness. It is praying for happiness. Which means what? Every activity of the mind, every external physical object that it wants to attain, every mental object that it wants to run behind, all these are activities. Every activity of the mind is simply a search for happiness, a prayer for happiness. It is a puja. Puja is the Hindi or the Sanskrit word for prayer. It is a puja. And that puja is done for pure happiness. That is what Atmananda is saying in verse 2. അതിനാലവതൻ കർമ്മ മുഖ്യൻ പൂജ തന്നെയാം അതിനെ കണ്ടു നിസ്സംഗം സ്വസ്ഥനായി നിൽക്കയന്നു ഞാൻ. Thus, all their activities are puja done to me. I am ever in repose, disinterestedly perceiving this puja. Atmananda is saying in verse 2 that this is what every activity of the waking state and dream state is really. It is simply a puja done for me, the holy nothingness. Every activity is simply a puja for me, the infinite expanse of blank awareness. Because the mind can only dissolve and disappear in me, that's where it attains the absence of the noise of objects in me. Absolute absence of noise of mental objects, absolute absence of the noise of physical objects is attained where? In me, the shunyata, in me, the absolute absence. That is where the mind becomes zero mind. I, the infinite expanse of blank awareness, perceive this puja of the mind dispassionately. I am disinterested, dispassionate. Only the mind has passion. I, that nothingness, have no passion. Totally disinterested, totally dispassionate. That is my nature. Thus, all the activities are done to me. I am ever in repose, disinterestedly perceiving this puja. Now you experiment and see. Do I recognize that the body-mind personality of the waking state, along with the waking world that is projected, all this is doing puja of the formless consciousness, the primordial awareness, the holy nothingness, the pure happiness? Second question you must ask yourself: do I recognize that the body-mind personality of the dream state, along with its dream world that is projected, is doing puja of the same formless consciousness, the holy nothingness, the absolute absence, the primordial awareness? And I, the absolute absence, the holy nothingness, the pure consciousness, the pure happiness, I disinterestedly perceive this puja of the waking state and the dream state. So homework for you. Am I there yet? Where I disinterestedly perceive this puja of the mind and senses. Let's look at verse 3. Kuda kudari edenne sparshi chavamayungidum mayakam vittu narnitu tudagum puja pinneyum. Again and again they touch me unawares and lapse into passivity. Coming out of it, they continue their puja again. So what is Atmananda saying in verse 3? The waking state and the dream state touch the infinite expanse of me, the blank awareness in the deep sleep state. Both of these states disappear into me. Both of these states lapse into passivity. Just like a wave disappears back into the ocean and then it reappears from it again, similarly, the waking state and dream state projections disappear into me and reappear from me, the infinite expanse of blank awareness. And then they start their puja again. Puja means the waking state has its waking state activities, the dream state has its dream state activities. Both are aimed at me, the pure happiness, the infinite expanse of blank awareness. This cycle keeps repeating, Atmananda says, again and again and again. Yeah? Again and again they touch me unawares and lapse into passivity. Coming out of it, they continue their puja again. Homework for you. Do you recognize experientially that the waking state and the dream state are like waves? They touch you, they lapse into passivity again and again, and then they arise out of you to continue their puja. Do you experientially see this truth? Verse 4. Sparshi padde niyam puja cheti dunna tummeneyam ennu narna lavakilla dukkam pinne yorikkelum. Once they understand that by their activities they are doing puja to me, and in passivity they lie touching me, all their suffering ceases. If you truly realize this experientially, that the waking state and the dream states touch you, the awareness, the primordial awareness, the pure consciousness, the pure happiness, the holy nothingness, that is you. They touch you in the deep sleep state. They lapse into passivity again and again, and they arise out of you to continue their puja again and again. If you are very clear about this, you see it experientially, then your suffering will cease, says Atmananda. So the main homework for you this week is to recognize, do I see this experientially? And if the answer arises as yes, then test yourself. This means that my suffering should have ceased by now. Has my suffering ceased? If not, it means that you have not seen this experientially. You might have only got it intellectually. So Atmananda actually challenges you in this verse for asking you to test yourself. Once they understand that by their activities they are doing puja to me, and in passivity they lie touching me, all their suffering ceases. Are you up for this challenge? Test yourself sincerely this week. Has my suffering ceased? And you check, what is my suffering caused by? There will always be that one single answer. Thinking that everything that shines is gold. That is the mistake you are making. And then you want that gold, you're putting your hand into the fire, you're running behind it, expecting that the pure happiness will come from the same thing that it came last time. Absolutely wrong expectation. The last time it did not come from that object. It came from the relief of the restlessness, relief of the feverishness that was created by running after that object. That relief will happen only once, no? Because it's the first time when you don't have that $1 million mansion or that real expensive gadget or the most beautiful woman or man in the world, that first time you run behind it, you crave for it, you raise your restlessness like a pressure cooker increases its pressure. And then finally you achieve it, you attain it, and the pressure gets released. That relief pushes you back into me, the absolute absence of noise, into me, pure nothingness, into me, pure happiness. That happiness was delivered from me, not from that object. So if you're still suffering, it means that you are still attaching a wrong expectation to that external physical person, the external physical object, or even a mental object. Yeah? A thought. You keep repeating a thought. You keep repeating mental spiritual objects like a mantra, expecting the mantra to give me the same kind of happiness. No. That happens only once. That is why all mantras, which are nothing but mental objects, only provide a temporary, one-time mental relaxation. They never provide the permanent happiness. Only the true jnana of where the pure and permanent happiness lies and from where it is delivered, only that jnana can provide you the permanent happiness. Nothing else short of that will work. Is this clear? Yeah. That is the reason why most meditation techniques fail to provide you permanent, long-lasting happiness. All techniques are either physical objects or mental objects. Mantra, breath, pulling the energy from the base of the spine to the top, evoking the kundalini, etc., etc. All these things are simply mental and physical objects. One time, only one time offer is there with them. That one time offer is also just that they are the external trigger, while the delivery of pure happiness happens from within. They cannot provide you the same thing again and again and again. It is impossible. Is this clear? Yeah. Because it's not possible for you to repeat that same feverishness, that same pressure. You cannot build the same pressure again. And the same release will not happen. That is why the same happiness cannot be delivered from the same object twice. Yeah. You can never get into the same river twice. Contemplate. Verse 5. Pinnidu chedidum karmam karma mavila nishchayam maya kavuma davilla moham virat karanal. Thereafter, action done will be no action, and passivity will be no passivity, because ignorance has been rooted out. One would ask, what is the meaning of the cessation of suffering? Atmananda clearly defines it in this verse, saying that when there is no suffering, action done will be no action, and passivity will be no passivity. Yeah, so waking state and dream state are action. Deep sleep state is passivity. Why action done will be no action and passivity will be no passivity? He tells you the reason. Because ignorance has been rooted out. There will be no two left. No Dvaitam of body, mind, personality and the infinite expanse of blank awareness. There will be no two. It will all be one. In fact, saying one is also incorrect as it implies the potentiality of more than one. Therefore, the better way to express it is that there will be no two. You will not see the waking state, dream state, and deep sleep states as different from each other anymore. You will not see thought, feeling, sensation, perception as separate from awareness anymore. You will not see any projections separate from the projector. In the Hindu mythology, Lord Shiva does that Tandav dance, and that depicts that the dance and the dancer are one and the same. Can you separate the dance from the dancer? No. Similarly, consciousness and creation are one and the same. The waking dream, the sleeping dream, and deep sleep are one and the same. The better way to put it is that there is no two. Advaita, Advaita, Advaita. So the last homework for today. Are you there yet? Examine. Am I there? Where I see the dance of the creation and the dancer, the consciousness, as one and the same, as not two. Am I able to see the non-duality? Am I able to see Advaitam? Has suffering ceased for me? Has ignorance been rooted out? Yeah. Ignorance was what? When I saw myself as a body, mind, personality in the world. I was separate and the world was separate. And there was this constant conflict, constant craving, constant aversion, constant conflict going on. Because I considered myself as the body, mind, personality. That itself was suffering. Running behind craving was suffering. Attaining it was suffering. Because now I wanted it again, but it did not repeat. So I changed the object. I picked up another object. I ran behind it. Again attaining that was suffering. Why? Because now it didn't deliver the same happiness. I left that object. Again I went behind something else. This was because of ignorance. Has this ignorance dropped away? Has this suffering ceased? Has this ignorance been rooted out yet? Have I reached there? Have I reached that place where action is no action, where passivity is no passivity, because ignorance has been rooted out? Am I there yet? So sit down for some time, contemplate, and write your answer to me. And be honest with yourself. Honesty is the only virtue on this path. Happy self-exploration. I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.